So for a moment, I'd like us to take a look at keyboards, and I actually can't think of a topic which would be more mundane, but there's in reality, some pretty interesting things to learn about keyboards. And yeah, so I mean, there's all kinds of keyboards. You got pink keyboards, right? Which I think that's pretty awesome. I wouldn't mind having a pink keyboard. Or you've got camouflage keyboards, which is really useful if you're out like in the jungle during a war and you need to check your email or Photoshop a few pictures before you post them to Facebook. And what else we have? We have flexible keyboards, a waterproof keyboard here. So that's a kind of cool thing. You could just roll that up and stick it in your backpack and then unroll it. And not only that, it's waterproof, so you could scrub it down when you're done with it. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. So different types of keyboards are out there. I mean, check out this keyboard right here. And that's more of an ergonomic keyboard. You see the word ergonomic right here. That'd be more of an ergonomic keyboard. And one thing that a lot of people don't think about when they think about keyboards is that, hey, right, there's just this one keyboard which we've always used, which is known as the QWERTY keyboard, the QWERTY keyboard. So this keyboard is the easy C keyboard where you could like see the keys more easily. But the arrangement of the keys in the Western world, right, English, and most keyboards, they're arranged in a certain way, and we call it the QWERTY arrangement, Q-W-E-R-T-Y, the QWERTY keyboard, the QWERTY keyboard. And that's not the only type of keyboard that's out there. There's the QWERTY keyboard, which is that one that we just looked at. And then there's also the Dvorak simplified keyboard. And you'll notice the key arrangement on the Dvorak keyboard isn't QWERTY up here. It's like got things in all of the, different places. And so if we were to compare that to this keyboard, right, like right next to caps lock, we've got the letter A. Well, there's the letter A, but then we have S on this QWERTY keyboard. This is a QWERTY keyboard. And we have S right after A, but here they have O right after A. And the way that the Dvorak keyboard was created was that somebody analyzed English and languages and which words get typed most frequently and how they get typed and how your hands work when you're typing. And they determined that the QWERTY keyboard, this keyboard right here, the one we use 99% of the time, the QWERTY keyboard isn't such a good arrangement of keys, right? Having the keys arranged. And where did it go, man? Where did it go? Having the keys arranged in this fashion isn't the best arrangement. And the better arrangement is to have the keys in this Dvorak arrangement. And I don't know why it's called the Dvorak keyboard. Maybe it's because some guy named August Dvorak, here we go, patented in 1936 by August Dvorak. So this is the guy who created it, him and his brother-in-law. And anyhow, it's supposed to be quicker, and I think they've done studies on it, and I couldn't tell you what about 16% of typing, right? They got some statistics here, so you could read about it, but it's just interesting to know about. And one thing you might want to do if you have not yet learned how to type is you might want to get yourself a Dvorak keyboard if you're just starting out with computers, because apparently they are better than the QWERTY keyboard, and you'll be able to type faster ultimately in the long run if you train yourself to use the Dvorak keyboard over the QWERTY keyboard. But of course, once you learn how to use the QWERTY keyboard, it's pretty much into the game. And who wants to relearn how to type to gain like 10, 15, 20% efficiency? It's just not worth it. So one thing that, is often overlooked, or at least for me, is that, with keyboards, I just always kind of thought about English, right? Or languages that use the English alphabet, or whatever the heck we call our alphabet. However many letters there are even in it. Is it 26 letters in the alphabet? I don't know. I'm on tangents. How many letters in the alphabet? So, it varies. English uses 26, German 30, Irish 20. Really? That's kind of weird. So 26 letters in our alphabet. But not only are there English, keyboards out there, there are also keyboards for every other language. Like here is a Japanese keyboard. So how interesting is that, right? Like all these different Japanese characters. So you could have this kind of a keyboard, or here's another version of a Japanese keyboard. I think this is Japanese. I searched Google for Japanese keyboard. But, right, you got the normal kind of QWERTY keyboard here, but then you have these other Japanese characters. that might be actually kind of fun to play with. And here's a Japanese keyboard for Apple. So that's kind of interesting to look at. A kanji keyboard. I don't know what that means, but there's all kinds of different keyboards out there. So here's another keyboard. And the point is that, you know, we don't need to limit our creativity. Old Japanese keyboard has 216 keys. We don't have to limit our creativity, or we are only limited by however creative we are, you know, when it comes to getting information into a computer, input device. So the standard keyboard is your QWERTY keyboard, and that's what, you know, the vast majority of computers in the Western world use. I'm not sure what it's like in the Eastern world or the Northern world or the Southern world or other countries and cultures is basically what I'm saying. But QWERTY keyboard, that's the one we use. And yeah, so that's a little bit about keyboards, and you should know what the QWERTY keyboard is. A little bit about keyboards, you should know what the QWERTY keyboard is. You should know what the Dvorak keyboard is. And if you've yet to learn how to type, you're just getting started with computers, you might want to see, okay, where did I get Dvorak keyboard? And then take a Dvorak keyboard typing course, and you will be one of the most awesome typers ever. Something else to know about keyboards is that there are ergonomic keyboards. So this is actually an ergonomic keyboard right here. And what that means, ergonomics, you know, ergonomics is basically the study of how does, you know, stuff fit humans, you know, so like, yeah, intended to provide optimum comfort and to avoid stress or injury. So that's an adjective. So if something's ergonomic, it's supposed to be comfortable and to avoid stress or injury. And so with this kind of a keyboard right here, right, we are typing straight on. So to get my hands, like naturally if I hold my hands out, there's a little bit of, you know, my arms kind of go in a little. And then to get my fingers to match the keyboard, I got to do that. And so now I have a bend in the wrist, which, you know, I'm having to hold that over time. And maybe that's not the easiest way to type. Maybe it's going to be easier to type if I don't have to bend my wrist and the keyboard is actually bent like this, right, so that it matches my fingers. And so that's the idea behind an ergonomic keyboard. And unfortunately, it doesn't come in that bright pink. Here's one that's like a little bit off-white. But yeah, if it came in that bright pink, I would be completely sold. This one's kind of cool because it's like got some really pretty colors. All right, so that's your ergonomic keyboards. And something else you want to think about when you are putting together your workstation is having an ergonomic keyboard drawer. Well, what the heck is that? Ergonomic keyboard drawer. Ergonomic keyboard drawer looks like this. And so this is like a place where your keyboard and your mouse can rest. And again, that's just going to help you stay comfortable and avoid repetitive stress injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome. If you have a keyboard on a drawer, which can go in and out, so you can bring it in right up next to you so it's in the optimal position for your body. It could go up and down, and it can articulate the angle. So these keyboards here can go in and out, right? This keyboard, that's not a very big image. Let's go to Search Tools, Size, and just give me large images. There we go. And now let's look for a drawer attached to a desk. This is a pretty good image. So this keyboard drawer can go in and out. It can slide along that track. It could go up and down. And then you could also adjust the articulation level, right? And so ultimately, when you're typing, you kind of want to look like this guy. Maybe you don't shave your head, you know, but and you shouldn't be reclined quite that much. It should be more of a vertical right angle between your spine and your hips, and then between your femurs and your lower legs, a right angle right there. And as your shoulders drop, it should be a drop and then a right angle to your forearms. So you want to have those right angles, but he does have the tray kind of right on his lap, which is a really good thing, and the mouse is real accessible there. And so over time, if you have your keyboard up and your shoulders are up and it's all on the desk and you're doing this, that's going to create tension. It's going to screw you up. And you want to avoid that. So for, you know, 100 to 250 bucks, 250, 96, you could get a really nice articulating ergonomic keyboard drawer. And that's awesome. That's something you absolutely want to do. I got one right here, right here. I got one right here. I'll spare you pulling the camera off because that's just kind of a pain, and then I might not get my angle right on the camera. I pull it back up. Heck, I'm going to show you because on mine, Look at that. I created my own little wood mouse tray off to the side and then just screwed it on right there. So that's my keyboard setup. It's a little bit dusty. Yeah. And hopefully that angle is okay now. So that's keyboard drawer. And we looked at like Dvorak keyboards. You could buy those for whatever, how much they cost. And here's the ergonomic keyboards on Google Shopping. Here's images of ergonomic keyboards. They got some pretty wild looking ones. I don't know what the heck that is. Just really different keyboards. Like, don't know how you'd use that, right? But you know, this is the most common looking ergonomic keyboard. Ones that kind of look like this, or like you know that. That's very common. This kind of guy. And then so keyboard drawers and then buying keyboard drawers. That's what I just closed. So yeah, that is keyboards. And you know, the last thing I will say about keyboards is I just recently learned to start playing the guitar. The camera's a little bit off. And when I was looking at guitars, one of the things I learned that was important to guitars is something called the action. And what the action is how hard do you have to press to kind of get those strings down? Are the strings in the right place, right above the fretboard, or are they too high? And if they're too high, you have to press too hard, and that's just like too much effort. And so for me, when I'm looking for a keyboard, I want a keyboard with good action. And what that means is like, you know, it's easy to press the keys, right? Like even I've heard like with firearms, with handguns, you know, people who are really into handguns want the trigger to have just the right sensitivity. Not too light, but certainly not too hard. Just boom, boom, just right. And I feel the same way with my keyboard. I want it to have the right action. And so buying a keyboard for me is a very visceral experience. I want to like be able to try the keyboard out before I buy it. And what does it feel like when I type on it? Am I having to press too hard to get the keys to fire? And ideally, you know, I'm such a snob about keyboards actually now that I should probably start a keyboard company and come out with just like the most badass keyboards in the world, where it's just like beautiful action. It's just da 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 da, right? Because typing is something I've done just a ton of in my life. If you look here in my closet, I've also spent some time as an author writing books, and you can see all those books I've written. I've written like a pile of books, like 40 books, and it would probably amount to like, you know, come up to my waist or my shoulders in terms of typed pages, and that's just the books. So we all do a lot of typing, emails, Facebook, you know, student papers. We're always on the computer. So finding a keyboard with the right action is hugely important. And I bet you'd be hard pressed to find anybody else in the world who could say just as much as I've said about keyboards. I'm sorry I talked so long about keyboards. I kind of got excited about it. Couldn't help myself. All right, forwards and onwards, we're going to look at some more I/O devices.